Listening to a podcast is for free. We call it subscribe, but actually it's not because there is no fee related to it. For the new podcast listeners, maybe that you don't know that you have to click on the follow button that is in the podcast app so that you become an official listener and get updates and get the new episodes downloaded in your app automatically. Now, when you follow, you help me grow my audience because all the hours put in the creation and production of a podcast are time spent rewarded by the number of listeners. And hopefully it will grow bigger and bigger. But this all will take a long time. And in this long time, I want to make sure I'm building a good audience to enjoy all the episodes that I will be publishing. There is no social media that grow a podcast. Podcasts grow by the word of mouth. Tell the people you know and instruct them to follow every podcast by clicking on the follow button on the podcast in the podcast app. Thank you. Before we start this episode, I have an observation. I want to ask you to listen until the complete end of this episode, because every time you might think the episode is ending, it won't. Something new is happening. And at the end, very, very end, before my jingle, there is an incredibly funny and awkward story about the translator. Welcome to the Life Affairs podcast. This is a place where we share life experiences and the many lessons learned by just living. Join me to immerse ourselves and take a closer look at the stories that shaped and defined us. Just remember, there's no judgment and a lot of understanding on today's episode of the Life Affairs podcast. My husband, he is the stepfather to my daughters. He came into their lives when they were in primary school. Right from the start, he has shown them so much care, love, and tenderness, truly being a father figure to them. But when things get tough, he's faced with the fact that they look a lot like me, and he handles it very well. However, he has to confront the reality that they strongly resemble their biological father. And that's where the realization hits him that they're not his biological kids. But you know what? It only fuels his determination to understand and connect with them, to really get where they're coming from, their behavior, their way of thinking. It's a whole different challenge compared to his own son, because that bond just came naturally when he held him in his arms at birth. Today, through my guest Mika's story, I've come to realize that the moment of becoming a father or a mother can happen when a person holds their adopted child for the very first time. Even though that child may have the genes of complete strangers, as new parents, they raise them with so much love and care, hoping they become the best version of their combined genetics and upbringing. I have so much respect for all the parents out there who have adopted a child. This might not be the main topic we're discussing today, but it is closely related. In today's episode, Mika is going to share his personal journey of being adopted from South Korea by a Dutch couple who couldn't have their own biological children. He's going to talk about his early life in an orphanage and how his new parents welcomed him with open arms when he arrived in the Netherlands. Mika is also going to open up about the challenges he faced growing up, feeling different from his peers and always wondering about his biological family. Decades after, Mika embarks on a life-changing journey to South Korea, with the love and support of his fiancée, to explore his past and uncover his roots. It's an incredible story that we're going to share with you today. The first part is all about Mika's early memories, his life in the Netherlands, and his quest to uncover his past. The second part, you won't believe how Mika's whole life changes after he visits the orphanage in South Korea. I invite you to listen with us on this heartfelt episode where we unravel Mika's extraordinary journey and the incredible impact of discovering his identity. Mika and I are sitting here in my studio, sipping our tea and enjoying this amazing traditional Korean rice dumpling. And I asked Mika to tell me more about his adoptive parents.
They are as Dutch as they can be. So my dad is from Amsterdam. He's born in the Jordaan. And my mom, she's born in Leiden, but moved to Amsterdam almost straight away. So they're both born and raised in Amsterdam, practically. So they lived there almost their whole lives. They met each other, if I'm correct, when they were teens. They started a relationship. Then they, of course, as young ones, they each went their own way in life. My mom went to travel a bit. I thought my dad stayed pretty much in Amsterdam, Holland. And they met each other, I think, in their early 20s back again. And then they reconnected and they tried to make their relationship work. And from there, I think they moved from Amsterdam to 2 or 3 other places until in the end they found their home in the beautiful Lelystad. My mom had, of course, when I came to the Netherlands, from her side, my grandmother was still very much alive, but my grandfather from my mother's side had already passed away. And from my father's side, they were both alive at the time, but both were pretty small families. So my mom doesn't have any brothers or sisters, and neither did my dad. So none of them has. So I practically don't have any uncles or aunties. So yeah, pretty small families. My mom, when they were, I think, in their 30s, they were talking about kids. My dad already had his own company back then. After a couple of years, my mom, or they found out, or they heard from their doctor, of course, that my mom couldn't get any children. So that started their conversation. Okay, we can't have biological children ourselves. What we're going to do? So at that time, I think it was in the late 70s, early 80s, there was, I think, a little bit more attention to adopting children from different areas of the world. I thought the organization is called Wereldkinderen. That was pretty much popular, kind of. And they had children from Sri Lanka, India at the time, South America, I think Colombia, I thought was an area they did a lot in. And Asia, of course. And Asia at the time consisted of Southeast Asia, Thailand primarily. I don't think China was already in there, but I don't think there were many adoptions yet. But one of the biggest group at the time was children from South Korea. So in their conversation, they met with people, and the whole process of getting a child adopted from another country takes up to 4 or 5 years. So it's quite a commitment if you decide to do it. You have to go through many hoops, like financial checks, stability checks. You have to file in paperwork every time. Every year you get a check on if something has changed in the situation, just to make sure that someone gets a stable situation when you get adopted. So that's basically a 5-year period. So they decided to go for South Korea. Then they got proposed a couple of pictures. It's like a group picture of children you have to see, and then you have to make a decision which child based on a small biography that tells something about the child, the background, what the orphanage has seen or done at the time with the child that's put there. And then it's usually a group of 10 to 15 children that they put into a picture. And then it's just, based on stories, pictures, you have to make a decisions. Of course, some children are already taken, or other parents have picked certain childs, boy, girl, whatever. So they picked me, obviously, and then the whole process got started. So basically, they have to do their part here in the Netherlands. That means that they have to. I thought they have to make arrangements also financially and those kind of things, and another batch of paperwork probably, and they will prepare the children for their journey to come to the Netherlands. So they are prepared to go on a plane, and that plane takes them to Schiphol, Holland, with just a couple of caretakers who are on that plane to take care of them.
So your parents didn't go to Korea?
They did not pick me up. No, it's different per country what is allowed. And at the time, the process was for Korea that the children will be sent by plane to the Netherlands. I thought my little sister is... my dad picked her up in Thailand. That was pretty normal there. But for Korea at the time, it was you just get sent your children on an airplane, basically. So I came by plane.
Do you remember anything of this journey? How old were you?
I was three and a half. And I remember that it was a, how do you say? Like an exciting kind of a thing. Because you go with the whole group and everyone around you is a sort of like weird excitement. Nobody knows where we're going. Nobody knows anything. It was. I thought late in the night also, if I'm not mistaken. I remember the journey in the airplane. I remember that, and also verified by pictures that I was hungry a lot. So I ate hamburgers, I thought, for the first time, which is still funny because one of the foods I like the most is hamburgers for some odd reason, but probably because of that. And I remember I was being picked up by my parents, of course. But yeah, there's so many things going around at the moment. You're not really aware of what is really happening because it's, you're tired. You're probably jet lagged because you've just been on an airplane. And yeah, I think that's the most I remember about the journey itself. Yeah. And then you're here. Yeah. And then starts your life different than how it was yesterday.
So you came, you arrived, you met them, you went home with them can you take me in this?
So once they pick you up, my mom took me into her arms and then just brought my grandparents were there as well, from my father's side at least. And from my father's side, I think. And then we got in the car. We just went home here, or in the Netherlands. And then you have this situation where you don't know really where you are. You get your, because they have, of course, built my bedroom. So you're in the bedroom. We had dogs at the time, so 2 big ones, which went well. I wasn't scared at all. It went actually quite naturally. It's strange, but somehow you just make yourself comfortable as much as you can. It's different for each child. I think also some survival instinct kicks in, scanning your environment, who is who. But I wasn't really panicking or crying there. I know there were kids crying because, and also the stories, what my parents told and other people we met later who had picked up their child from the airport. So it's a lot to process when you're young. I think it's a lot of commotion. There's like cheering because everybody's happy they pick up the child. I know my mom was super nervous. There's crying kids, crying parents. It's like, how do you say? It's like 20 or 30 people who are through one big emotional roller coaster. And of course you compare children because that's what happens always. So there's hey, this is your child and that's my child. And maybe we should meet up later and etc. So you're meeting all these new people who look different than, you never saw people who were with a different skin color or look that way. But on the other hand, it's also not something you really focus on, but you notice it because it's just like something natural your body picks up or your nervous system picks up, like, hey, it's different. Is it danger? Is it not danger? No, probably not. Should be okay. Let's go with it. So basically we went to home, like I said. First night in, I didn't sleep, different time zone. And I think that went on for a while. So I didn't understand that 5 o'clock in the morning is not the normal time to start asking for rice. But my mom had to, otherwise I would not sleep. So all these weird cultural differences started yeah, it started happening, and my dad had to find a way around them, how to deal with that. Because what do you do when your child is crying and he doesn't want to go to bed because he's expecting rice? Okay, let's make rice then. So every night I got 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I got rice. I didn't want to sleep alone because I was not used to sleep alone, because we were always in a big area with all the children sleeping in one big room. So it was weird to sleep suddenly alone. In Korea, it's normal you sleep on the floor. No, I had a bed. I didn't know. Yeah, weird. Bed is soft. Floor is hard. Uncomfortable. It should be comfortable. It was uncomfortable. So there's a lot of these small things that I think my parents said always that nobody prepared them for these things, because you're questioned a lot about your financial status, and if you are prepared to give the child a stable environment, and how long you've known each other, and all these things that are being asked of you. And then, of course, they prepare you, and they talk with you what you can expect. Like, you can decide if you want to be honest with your child about the adoption, all these things. But all these practical things, nobody tells you. So it's like you have to figure that out all by yourself. Like, okay, you don't want to sleep. Now what? The language things. How do we deal with that? So those are the things that I remember. All these differences that I noticed my parents also had, like, not trouble, but had to understand how to deal with it properly. Because you're expected, if you're hungry, you get food. But now I saw 2 people like moving around, boiling rice, what kind of rice, all these kind of things. So that's different as a child, that you see in one situation it was your daily pattern, and now you want something, and then, okay, what's going on now? What's happening? So there's a lot of unexpected things that are happening on a daily basis.
How long it took for you to adjust?
Wow. I think it took at least 3 or 4 years before it's really started to get, took a long time.
Okay, I wasn't expecting this period of time. I thought you were going to tell me 2 to 3 weeks.
No, it took the system, or at least for me, I don't know how it is for other children, but I was so used to getting certain things at certain time frames that to feel comfortable, I needed those things to feel safe also. So it's like, and it was difficult because I know that my parents were a little bit like doubting, like, should we give into it or should we actually not do it? And then there's a period where they try out things like, let's not give him food now. Let's just let him, go through it, and then we'll do it later. And sometimes it worked, and sometimes I became horrendous. So I think the going back and forth and trying out things, at a certain point, I didn't need it anymore. And then it just slowly went from, I need it every day. I need it maybe once every 2 or 3 days, and then once time every week. And then it slowly moved out of my system, I think. But it took a while. Yeah.
So by the time you get used to it, you were, let's say, 6.5, almost 7. So you understand more of the world, and you were going to school probably.
Yeah. So the first steps going into kindergarten, I think I was 4.5, 5. We tried that out. It was in Dronten, I believe. So I started my first steps into school, and I remember my first day in school. I was crying, I think, the whole day out. I think at one time the teacher got so tired of it, she kind of got angry, like, now it's enough, and stop crying. I stopped crying though, but it was really difficult. First, I think a couple of days, it was really awful for me. Time span is around 2 years. So I got accustomed to having parents again. And then, without really understanding, then you are pulled away, and I have to be in some group again with children. But I already have been in a group with children because, that's where I came from. So what is this now? So I came with a group with children. I had parents, group of children. Then I have parents, and now I'm going back to a group of children. So for me, it was going backwards. It's not like you don't really make the situation better for me. It's like degrading. I go back to a group with children. So am I now being picked up by other parents, or what's going on now? So that's, I think, made it really difficult for me to appreciate school. Despite having kids around me who are willing to play and everything, really cool teachers. But somehow my system was like scared and panicking, because it felt like, hey, we're going back into a situation where it was not so maybe nice for you. So now you have to what's going on? And so that took a couple of days before that settled in a bit. That's going pretty well. I think as a child you pick up language anyway pretty fast. But I had a couple of words that I understood from. I spoke a little bit Korean. I don't know if I could make real phrases. Maybe like 1 or 2 or 3 words, combine them, not like a real phrase, but just like some words connected with each other. So I spoke a little bit Korean just to make myself understand if I wanted something. Like watermelon, I remember always watermelon was like a thing I always wanted. But yeah, so school was the first couple of days. It was a really difficult and strange period. Yeah, I remember that it took at least a couple of days for me to get used to the situation where, you're being picked up at the end of the day, but it feels like forever as a child. So for me, it also felt like, okay, how long is this going to take before I know what's going to happen? Am I being picked up? Okay, I'm being picked up. Okay, nice. Next day, same situation. Okay, am I being picked up now? Oh, so once you get that confirmation that you're being picked up, then you start to calm down and become less stressful. But at the beginning, it was really stressful. It was not a nice time. Horrible, actually. So, but that has to do with, of course, at the time I didn't really understand it. But later you understand that it is a pattern of having parents going to an orphanage, in an orphanage, being in a group with people who are not the most kind people ever, because everybody has traumas in the kids are not maybe always very nice to you and to each other. And then you come to a situation where you have parents. For 2 years long, you have a stable situation where, oh, wait a minute. I have a bed, I have a home, I'm getting fed, everything is okay. And then suddenly you're going back to a group again. That's really strange, I think, for children who are not adopted through an orphanage. That could also still be different, but I think if you have been through an orphanage or multiple orphanages, it can become strange and a stressful situation. That's at least how I experienced it when I was young. So, but yeah, once I got accustomed to it, then you start to play with children, then the fun starts happening, and then you meet, of course, friends and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it worked out well. So yeah, I survived it. Also because I'm older now, that's easier to give it thought, and you understand a little bit better what was actually happening. As school went along, you start to making your friends, you start to become comfortable with how things are. My parents told me right away, by the way, that I was adopted, so that was never a big secret. I think that's for a child, it's anyway difficult if you fully understand what the meaning is with having parents biologically and having now parents that take care of you literally day by day. But they told me immediately as soon as I started understanding Dutch language, they told me. There's another thing. It is pretty common that once you have a child and it is adopted, that you go have regular checkups with the organization, the ones that has set up the initial adoption. So we went to these checkups, and I heard the conversation, of course, about what happened or my background story, what happened with my biological parents. So the story was that my mom was 19 at the time. My dad was around the same age, 19 or 20, and they were no longer in marriage, or at least in a divorce situation, which is frowned upon in Korea, especially at that time. And the story was my mom, she walked out on my dad. My dad couldn't take care of me, so my dad put me up for adoption. So I got used to hearing the background story. I got used to the fact that is the story regarding your biological parents. So yeah, I get used to it. I hear that story a couple of times. After a while, after a couple of years, you settle in with it. So as a child, you let that go. I mean, okay, that's it. Some situations I remember were a little bit strange because they had, of course, which is normal when you are younger, with teachers, they have these days where they say, hey, let's bring up pictures from when you were a baby, and let's bring pictures from this part of your life and make something nice out of it, which makes total sense. But I remember I didn't have any pictures. So I was always, well, this is my picture. Here I am, it's 3. And then you notice, as you're younger, you notice the differences between your situation and the other children's situation. So let's say once in a while, I noticed the difference between my situation or my past and the other children's past, that there was a difference. How they grew up and how I grew up. They had pictures about being a baby. I had no pictures about when I was a baby. So that happened once in a while. These kind of situations where I noticed.
But the kids did not ask you why you don't have pictures when you were a baby.
No, I think my parents chose to tell. Also, of course, my teacher knew the background. My parents said, "Look, we're totally open about it. He knows the story. You can ask whatever you want." And I was never really uncomfortable because, what do you know? You have now things going for you. Things are fine. You're making friends. You're having fun at school. So that was fun. Yeah, that was pretty okay. So I think the next part where things are different is when you go to puberty. So then I went to high school, of course. I remember that there's a part where I started to, get things I got interested in, playing guitar. I really liked. When I was 14, I started playing guitar and I really liked it. Also because somehow it was nice to be creative. And for me, the guitar worked. It was also I think the MTV era with the grunge, Nirvana, Pearl Jam. So playing an instrument was anyway cool. So guitar was the next cool thing to do. So I tried to play guitar. I really liked it. I played it for a really long time. I still do it now and then. But I also noticed that it was a period, I think, in my life where I sometimes asked myself, hey, would my biological family still be alive? So I asked myself, are they still alive? So I caught myself asking these questions, actually. How would their life be? I knew they were divorced. So, I have a family from my mother's side there. And would I have a family of my father's side there? I didn't really do much with it, but it crossed my mind a couple of times. I noticed that one pretty much more often than when I was younger. I think it's also natural because I got older, but I started to wonder just how the situation would be. Yeah, and I think that was the start of these questions in my life anyway, that I started asking myself, how would their life be now? And do I still fit in there or not? And I think I kept asking these questions until the moment I actually started doing something with it. But until that time, I think I was 14. Yeah, so let's say the next 14 or 16 or 20 years of my life, I just started asking myself these questions. As I got through puberty, I also started getting my first relationships with my first girlfriends. I noticed also from them, I got questions about my past, of course. Everybody asks you the question, where do you come from? Who are your parents? Oh, you're adopted. How are you adopted? Why did your parents adopt you? Do you have contact with your biological parents? So as I got older, I asked myself these questions. I got questions a lot. You talk about it more because once you have a relationship, it's a topic that maybe other people ask me more about my past. So somehow you have to answer them and you get more curious because then you get into a situation that you meet your girlfriend's parents or their family. And they ask me, hey, we heard, you're adopted. And how has this been in your life? And has it changed the situation? You discuss, of course, the topic adoption in general.
When people ask you or when the parent asks you you're adopted, is it when you started also thinking about your parents, are you okay with these questions, or you have your life and this part of the past is not that important to talk about? Or were you, yes, this is my past and I want to talk about it. So how did you stand for that? Because the curiosity of the people doesn't mean that you necessarily want to live in the past, because you have your parents, you grew up here.
I think it is a normal question to ask, but I think it has, for me, been always a difficult question to answer because I didn't know anything about my biological parents. So what am I expect to answer? I have almost zero real information. The only information I had was what they told me back then. That was it. So, yeah, I can only like retell the story that someone has told me, but not from first-hand experiences because I don't remember anymore. I was too young to really remember. I caught myself telling, like I'm telling from a book. Like this is my background. And if I felt more comfortable, I would tell the story. Look, my mom walked away and my dad, he brought me to the orphanage and and then I came here and ta-da, now here I am.
Did people also ask about your actual parents, your adoptive parents, or they were more interested in your Korean parents? And was that something, did you like them to ask more about your actual parents?
I think it depended a little bit on the person who asked the question. I would be more comfortable with just telling the story how it was told. Then I could just, get to the next point. And then hopefully by telling it, if I would tell it like I just did, 9 out of 10 times people will not really dig in and investigate further. So yeah, I got used to just telling that story and then 9 out of 10 times nobody asked any question anymore. We're telling it as it is maybe for someone else to hear it.
Before we move to the part when you started doing your research, what's your oldest memory of your childhood?
I think my oldest memory of my childhood is I have this image in my head and I'm still not sure if that is true, but it feels like a dream, but it also feels like something that really happened. I always felt that I was sitting on a scooter, motorbike, in front of someone, which was probably my dad, and we drove to some place where he said goodbye. Somehow, I don't know if that was the case, how it is, but somehow in the back of my mind, that is the feeling I always had that happened. But as a child, you get sometimes stories mixed up in your head based on things that you experienced. I also had, when I was younger, a memory that I was in my grandma's house, that I was in a room where I think there were my parents, but also that is a little bit vague. But these are my two earliest memories that I remember. And I also know it because I told these stories to my parents and also to the organization when I started, expressing myself in Dutch a little bit better. I think it was 4 or 5 at the time. 5, I think. So I kind of, these are the earliest memories. It is difficult for me to verify things.
It took you 16, 20 years thinking about it.
Yeah, I think the question was always there, but I think I was afraid to really answer it for myself. I think I didn't have the courage yet to do something with that question. And also because I had the feeling the question was always a bit downplayed by my parents, not willingly or on purpose, but they would always say, if I brought up the topic, how would my mom be in Korea? It would be a little downplayed, like, look, you have a good life here, so it's always better to be here because that's why adoption is there, because you have a better life here. And there, the people are poor, so there you would not have any chances in life. But here you have all the chances in life. So that makes you less ambitious maybe to start, start answering that question for yourself. Because why would you start that journey if the outcome would be, oh yeah, they probably don't want to, talk with me. And here my life is better. So why would now waste my time to, search and find something there, which is maybe not so hopeful in the first place. Difficult to actually make that first step. I know a lot of other people who have done it. at the time, there was also this program on Dutch television, maybe it's still now, it's called Spoorloos, Traceless. The program is actually that they help people with a similar background as I have. Anyway, people who are trying to find their biological parents or family. Super popular. Everybody was always in tears about the program. So always people come up to me and say, hey, your story is the same as, well, whatever episode they saw on television. But I never really wanted to watch it. I thought, yeah, okay, amazing. They have biological parents that are willing to, look for them or answer at least a request. My story was my mom left me, so my mom doesn't want to say yes. And my dad put me up for adoption. So highly unlikely that he would say yes. And they're also no longer together anymore. So yeah. So to answer that question, where do I come from? Do I have family there? How is my mom doing? How is my dad doing? One side of me said, maybe we should find out. The other side said, highly unlikely that you will get any result. But the question was there. And I think going through puberty, going through phases of my life, the question popped up. I answered it with, this rational pattern or process that I told myself, no, not necessary. Will be disappointment. Let's not go there. Well, until, I reached a certain age where I thought, yeah, maybe I should just answer this question. Maybe I should just do it. So, that's basically what happened. I started becoming more confident about answering that question for myself instead of, degrading the situation by saying, look, nobody's looking there for you. Let's not do it.
Is it because you gotten older, you understand life more? And did you weigh, what do I have to lose or not?
I think it's a combination. Of course, life, just general life lessons, experience teaches you that, that there are things, life is short. You should not walk around with some questions too long. You should just go for it and have them answered. I think also, as I met my future wife, fiance now, Mina, when I got into a relationship with her, she had a lot of knowledge how children behave who got adopted or have gone through a certain traumatized event in their life. Talking with her about it, she also gave me confidence that some things aren't normal. So where I thought like, ooh, this is weird behavior, she told me like, yeah, it is. But it is also normal. So that gave me confidence, I think, to start answering the question. And also to learn to not be influenced by how other people view it. Also, my parents here in Holland, they always said, look, if you want that question answered, go for it. They never got in the way of it. So I think I started to become more comfortable with the feeling of having it just done, just getting that question answered. And also because I went to Finland to meet her family and also to meet her mom and see the situation of how her mom is managing a household with 3 or 4 adopted children who have gone through more terrible things than I would ever have in my life. And just seeing them be happy, receive love from each other, but also from her mom. Yeah, it's rewarding to see it. And also it makes you realize that there will be a day where they will have that question in life and they won't have it answered. So yeah, what's holding me back actually? Why I can't do it? Why I shouldn't do it? So I started diving into it actually. I started checking things really carefully, what I would like to do with it. Do I want to really search for them? Am I just okay with visiting my home country? Would that be okay? And I think the last one came out on top. The careful answer, maybe just a visit. And you would see your culture, you would see your birth country would maybe already give answers. So for me, that was like my first victory. I said, okay, sounds doable. I can go to a country. I've been on holiday. I've been to Asia. I've been on an airplane. I can do all these things. So let's just try it out. Yeah. So then I started to check what part of Korea would be interesting. There were 3 areas I wanted to check. One of them was, of course, the main city, the capital, Seoul City. And Mina just encouraged me on that journey by saying, okay, let's just go there. It's a holiday. Let's see, it's a nice country. We read all the travel guides and all the information, and it was actually, it looked like a nice country to go to anyway. So as I went there, it was a beautiful experience anyway, because it was something I didn't expect. Because in the past, I was always told that Korea was the poor country, which it was at the time. In the 80s, it was not economically the best country in the world. But it was also not that bad as what maybe people always have told me. The funny thing is that when I was adopted, they said it would be really difficult to find out who my parents are, etc. I didn't really understand what difficult finding out would mean, because I've never really searched on the topic. So I went there like totally blank. I didn't expect anything. I just thought, look, if I just see my country, let's see where it goes from there. And then I think after a week, I said, yeah, this is not maybe too bad. I said, maybe I should see my orphanage. Why not? Just as we're in the neighborhood kind of thing. So we went to see I tried to find it online, which organization, address, phone number. I found an email address. So I reached out to them. I said, hey, sorry, it's pretty, like, we have a few days left, because we went there for 3 weeks on the holiday. I said, I have a few days left. It would be awesome to meet up and just see the orphanage, where I've spent half a year, a little bit over half a year, between half a year and a year I've been in the orphanage. I said, yeah, this could be one of a lifetime things. I'm here. It would be awesome if you have time. I didn't expect that they would answer. I thought, here is some dude asking for time, but it is, we have busy lives here ourselves. But they answered in a day, I believe. And they answered, look, no problem. Come by this and this day, this and this time frame, this is the address. See you soon.
Can you take me through how you felt when you saw their reply and after you read their email?
I was actually thankful the most that they made time to see. I was actually excited to see the orphanage, because right before we left, I checked the pictures of the orphanage, just to have it, in my mind how it would look like, which of course, highly unlikely it would still look the same, but just for my kind of reference that I would remember it well. So it was exciting to have that reaction that they made time for me to see me, and also my enthusiasm to be able to see that location again, which I only remember from pictures and a little bit in some vague memories from the past. But this would answer some things that other kids could always answer at, when I was a younger age. The question, how has been the first couple of years of your life been, and do you have pictures? For me, this was finally the confirmation. Yes, I have it too now, because I go to a place where they now can verify maybe some things and questions that I have. So that was the first thought I had, like, hey, I can now answer those questions that were 30 years back in my life that I found highly annoying when, people brought those pictures.
Now that you're telling me this part, your face is lighting up. Like your smile, I see your big smile. You're really showing me excitement. Like you really feel like, I fucking exist. Here's the proof. This is where I was.
I think that was the same feeling I had when I got that message back. Because there was something in my past that, for me, it was just the same as having your biological parents say, hey, son, let's meet up. Because that's the closest for me I was going to get. In my, from my perspective. For me at that time, I thought, this is it. If I ever going to find things about my past, this is the part where, I get an email back, they make time for me. This is as close as I'm going to get. But at least I have something, and I have a person who could maybe, that was I was hoping for, acknowledge or tell me some extra information that I couldn't remember anymore, or is lost through time, or whatever it is. Doesn't matter. The location actually It is in the north part of Seoul City. And the public transportation is pretty good. So we figured out how to get there in the most convenient way. That was, I think, 2 or 3 buses I had to take to get there. But we did it. We took the buses. We got on the last bus there that we needed to get there. And it showed that there is a bus stop. And from that point, I would probably need to walk because, some part it's shut on the... We didn't use Google because they have Naver, I thought. Same kind of thing. So, but for reference, we'll say Google Maps. Google Maps said it would be 500 meters from the bus stop. Not that far. So that was fine. So we got out the bus. I checked my app, my Google Maps, and I'm checking the direction we need to go. And as we walk, I see some signs already. And I say to Mina, because at some point my Google Maps stopped working because it was a really bad connection we got there. I said to Mina, it's this part right, on to the right, and then the next left. And as I say it, I look to Mina and she says, "Are you sure?" I said, I'm pretty sure that's there. So we walk straight, right, first left. And strange, it is exactly that route to go there. Has to be coincidence, or otherwise I still have a real memory that actually is true. So for me, that was like, both things went through my head, like, am I right about this? Am I really remembering it is? Or is it just my sense of navigation that tells me this is probably the direction to go? But maybe it's both. But we arrived there. I see a small building. There's not an orphanage, a small building, office building. It said all the right signs. It said something reference to, I could make that up through translating the text that was there. It was referencing something about an orphanage or something about a daycare. I said, this should be it. We walk in. Super nice lady welcomes us. And I'm trying to, does she talk English? I try to tell, look, I have here an appointment and I made it just to, just ask a couple of questions and then I'm back out again. But she said, yeah, of course. And she brought in the person who actually we made the appointment with. I should know the name, but I just forgot it now. She was super sweet. She said, we have a special room, come in. She said, but before we go to that room, there was this...
She was speaking English? Or you still using Google Translate?
No, she speaks English. Yeah, she speaks actually English perfectly. So that helped a lot. She said, we can go to another room to, any questions you have. I saw that you referenced that you have been an adoptee here. And I noticed in the corner of the room, there is an old, prototype of how the orphanage used to look like. It's like a model-based, downscaled, and it shows how the orphanage has been and etc. So I said, can I, I just walked up to there and I saw the thing. I said, is this the buildings how it was in the past? He said, yes. I said, where are they? Because I actually came here to see these buildings, where in the rooms, the sleeping halls where I've been. She said it's all been demolitioned, so it's flattened. You can no longer see it, and I noticed. I thought a little bit like disappointment, because I thought, yeah, now I traveled all this way to see it, and it's no longer there. And that happened, I think, a year before I got here. There, I mean. So I was so close. The first thing I thought, you stupido, you should have gone here sooner. Then you would have still had time to see this. That's the first thing I went to my head. But she took us to the room, and you could see that was a room. There was gifts from other people that have come before me, of course. People from Denmark, adoptees from all over the world who brought little gifts and things. We sat down. She said, are there certain questions you have? I said, yes. She said, no, then I get your file first, your old dossier. comes back to the room again and has this full file of me with pictures of my parents here in the Netherlands. So the pictures that they have sent in the past to show how is he doing, etc. They sent pictures, of course, to show, well, this is him and he's growing up. And of a couple of years, they monitored it and they put that in the file. And at some point, of course, the file is closed and it is archived. But it was all there. The pictures that I had here in the Netherlands, there were also straight copies that were in that same file. So we talked about it. We recognized. She asked some questions about how my life has been, how my past has been, how school has been. Same questions you're asking me. All the normal curious questions you can ask. What brought me there and why I'm now, there. So I thought, no.
Two things that, sorry, I so much want to react and you made me so emotional. It's incredibly how organized they are that she got the file.
Finding the file took her literally 5 minutes. Or she have done, I assume she had done her homework and already maybe brought up the file. But nonetheless, there was a file complete with all the information, how I was doing in the Netherlands, how the situation was. So it like a professional organization, how you would expect it to go. Like a real documentation, also my medical files, things of any of good interest were all there in that same file.
Were there any pictures of you before you left?
No, I don't think they had. They had the same pictures I think I had when I was, what was in my Dutch file. So in my Dutch file, they had pictures of me in Korea. And of course, in Korea, they have pictures of me in the Netherlands. But the pictures they had in the Netherlands of the orphanage where I was, there was a couple of pictures of me in front of the group of kids, and some other pictures with other children and me, and 5 or 6, I think, at the most. They had them as well. But I knew them already. I thought, okay, yeah, nice, but I know them already. So we had a nice talk about how the orphanage has been and what has changed and things going on a little bit there. Why they demolished the orphanage due to budgeting, etc. Lost its purpose because, of course, at some point, after years of adoption, the government said economically it goes pretty well here. So then you see that countries usually, put adoption aside and close down all these offices. So that's the same what happened in Korea. So as we talk about the history of the orphanage and what happened with it and why the buildings were demolished, which was actually the reason why I came there, because I wanted to see those buildings. She asked me the question, okay, so we're done. Oh yeah, by the way, do you want to see you want to reach out for your mom and dad? And I actually did not expect that question. I haven't really prepared anything. So before I even noticed it, I said, yeah. I said, why not? And now what? And she said, look, we'll file in a form. And she explained a little bit how the process works. She said, file says that your mom and dad have been divorced. So we send a separate request to both of their locations at the moment that have been, or at that time. Could be that they don't live there anymore. Yeah, then after a while, we have to stop our searches, and it's difficult to say if they will respond or not. She was telling, look, she was preparing me a little bit for, disappointment management, saying that, okay, look, they will probably have families on their own. So could be that they don't want to, since it's been a while, that they don't want anything to do with you now because, of course, they have their own families, especially from the father's side, which is, difficult maybe if the family doesn't know he had a previous child. Maybe nobody knows about you. Could be he wants to keep it that way. And that could also be with your mom, that she wants to keep it that way, that nobody knows you. So, we'll send out the request. I said, how long will it take? She said, usually 2 good months to have a solid answer if they really don't want to respond, or there is some response, but it takes longer because they'll do the same kind of emotional help for the parents as well, because it can be, for me, but also for them, something like, hey, after 30 years, here I am. So She said, fill in the forms, 2 months, and we'll let you know by email if there's anything that we need to report to you. I said, fine, no problem. So I looked at Mina, and Mina was like joyful about it, of course. And I still didn't really realize what I just said. I just said, yeah, sure, go find him, and we'll hear about it. It's literally a contact request, which says very, like, almost formal that there is someone, like, literally someone, that's the letter that is sent to the parent, the biological parent, that says someone would like to be in touch with you because we have a registration here. And of course they see it's an adoption office, so that's pretty clear, but they don't really mention it in the letter. And that if they would like to be in touch, they can call the office and the person that is mentioned in the letter. So it's like super formal and neutral to protect, of course, the privacy and identity of the child. They don't mention anything. So I went back to the Netherlands. I went working again. 2 months was the period they mentioned. I didn't really, think of it anymore. I thought I went there in July. So somewhere around the first week of September, first or second week of September, I should check the date. I have the email still in my phone, of course. It was in the morning. I was in a hurry, getting dressed, getting my stuff together to go to the office. I opened my phone, my email, like I always do every other day, refresh it, see if something came in. And there's already email there, sitting there. Because the time difference, so they sent it in while I was sleeping. Probably that email landed in my email box. I quickly see the name of the organization. I press on it. It says, regarding your request, here's the letter of your mom included. Bye. I think, what? So I open the letter. I thought just finished brushing my teeth. I stare at my phone. There is an attachment in a Word file, and there is a translated version of a letter of my mom. So I say to my girlfriend, I say to Mina, I say, hey, look, there is a letter. My mom, my mom sent me a letter. Mom, only a couple of words came out, and I showed it. Mina reads it, starts crying. I watch my clock. I think I really have to go now because it's, there's traffic. I need to go. I said, letter. Okay, bye-bye. And I get out of the house and I get in the car and I drive to the office. I say, I'll talk to you later about it. Bye-bye. So on the way to the office, I think, wait a minute, I have a letter of my mom. Yeah, a letter of my mom. And at the office, I keep thinking, letter of my mom. I have a few moments during the day to actually check the letter. So I start reading the letter, what it says. It's a full page of text, and it starts by saying, "Dear son, I was surprised to see this." She explains something about how her life, something a little bit short about how her life has been, that she appreciates the request, and that she would like to meet me. So now I think, okay, it's like literally a bomb dropped in your email box, and you're just thinking, okay, wait, I got a letter from my mom. I made that request. Yeah. Now she responded. So I tried to connect it all together, like actually what has really happened. So, and then I tell myself, but yeah, she also requests that she would like to see you. So this is my mom. The backstory was always that my mom was 19 and left me. So I told Mina when I got back from work, I said, isn't it strange that out of the 2 persons that they send a letter to, that my mom responded and not my dad? Because that was also in the email. The email said, look, we've reached out. Your mom has responded with a letter. Your dad didn't give any response. Greetings, and then the name of the of the organization. So I couldn't understand really why she was the one who responded. That's the only thing that went through my mind the whole time. Like, why did she respond? Because she was the one who left me. Why? On the other hand, I thought, yeah, she wants to meet me. That was the whole intention of sending out these letters. Yeah. I have to go to Korea then. Back again. I was there already. Okay. But yeah, we just came back. How do I going to do it work? So I told at the time my boss at work, and she started crying and saying, "Yeah, you need to go there. Just whatever days you need, just go." So that story, she told, of course, some other people at office, and before I knew it, everyone knew, and the whole time everybody came to me, "Hey, yeah, amazing. I heard your story from now that person, and much luck, and I hope it all ends well." Everywhere I went through the hallways, everyone said, "Hey, I heard." Yeah, on one hand, it was maybe a little bit annoying. On the other hand, it was super nice, of course, of everyone. But we planned the next trip back. I responded with a letter of myself that that they translated right before I booked the tickets. I wrote some response back, something like that. Book tickets, book hotels again, everything like we did a couple of months before. We had to do all again. I sent some questions to the organization, like, "Hey, talk me through it. How does it go? I'm going to meet her. Is that okay? Is that normal? Are you guys there? Am I just being left alone and then now good luck and that's it?" So they gave some information about how the process usually goes. They set up if both parties are willing to meet each other, they set up a meeting at their location, a neutral area, and they will help us with that conversation also by translating, of course, because that's difficult. They told already that my mom doesn't speak English but only understands Korean. If there's any message I would like to relay to her that that would probably need to be translated by them. So then I thought, yeah, okay, but if I want to speak with her outside of that building, if that is the intention, then maybe I should have a translator. So they advised, yeah, you can, but then you have to go through either some other organization they provided, but you can try there or something else. My boss at the time, her husband had some global function somewhere, also had connections in Korea and provided with a business translator. The business translator provided someone from one of the universities. I thought a young girl she provided a name with, and they told that person that it was a business translation meeting. I'll come to that story. It's totally on itself. We set everything up and we went there. We went back to Korea. Yeah, weird feeling, of course. Strange. Excited also. A lot of questions. No idea if any of them will get answered, but any question I have that is maybe answered was already like, a nice to have. And even seeing her, So we do the whole thing again. We take the buses, we go to that same location. I come in. As I come in, I think, is she already there? No, not yet. Okay. Now what? And again, she greets us, the person who works there, the official, says, "Look, we can go right to the same room you were before. Just sit down and we'll talk a little bit." So we went there. I had some questions about the letter still. When did they receive the first, initial contact with my mom? What did they tell my mom? So my mom, of course, responded. And they said, "Look, you have to come in probably to, so we can give you the full story. Who is the one contacting you?" But I think she already knew it was me. They told my mom, of course, it was it was me. When they met me, and that I filed in a request to be in touch with her. Maybe good to tell already this part of the background story. The story was she left me when she was 19 and I was born. As it turns out, highly likely that this is true. I can't imagine my mom lying about it. It is true, my dad put me up for adoption. That part is true. But my dad left my mom at the time, and in Korea, as with other cultures, by law, the male gets the custody usually over the child when a divorce is set in motion. So he took care of me, or at least he had me illegally he had me. And my mom could see me only through a request she had to make. So the only reason she could see me was by making requests to my father, like, look, can I please have a moment with, my son? And then he would either allow it or not allow it. He put me up for adoption, but he never told my mom. So my mom always thought that I was still somewhere in Korea. So she searched her life long in the hope she would maybe see me somewhere at some point. That was her maybe, like hope she had. So she was shocked to hear that my dad put me up for adoption and I was adopted to the Netherlands, because they told her the whole story now. They told her, look, this is your son. Your son has been put up by adoption through your ex-husband. Yeah, he is in Holland with new parents and, with a Dutch citizenship. And he is 100% Dutch by law. He lived there all his life after, his adopted parents now take care of him. So as we go through the story and we talk a bit with each other, she says the official, she says, okay, do you want to meet your mom? Shall I now pick her up? So yeah, of course, the reaction is yes. She walks out of the room. My heart is pounding. I can't sit, so I have to stand, keep walking circles. I tell me, okay, what do I say? Yeah, okay. Do I say hi? Do we hug? I don't know. What is it? What do you do? So as I go through all these scenarios, what would be normal to do? I hear footsteps coming in the hallway. So I hear my mom coming in. She opens the door, and then we see each other the first time. And we immediately hug each other. Of course, she starts crying. I start crying. We just keep hugging each other. And then we sit down. And then she talks. The translator translates. I ask questions. That's how I heard about the story that my dad, or that she had to file in requests to see me. She has brought pictures of me when I was a little baby, which is also nice because I was always the only one who never had pictures of when I was younger. So she finally brought them. She cut out my dad in every picture. So there's some pictures were a little bit awkward to look at because someone has gone through a scissor with them, like manually just cut off the last part of the photo. But fine, I have proof of the fact that I have been brought up by her. Because they celebrate in Korea, the first milestone of a young child is the first 100 days. It's like a thing you celebrate. If your child has reached its 100th day, then they celebrate. She has brought these pictures where they're celebrating my 100th day. So strange to see that, to have suddenly pictures of yourself of that age, because you never knew how you looked like when you were that young. So yeah, as I am fully surprised, she tells stories about her life. She has been living a long time in Japan, trying to work there as a singer. First thing I think, hey, that's funny. I love to play guitar. Is there some musical thing somehow that got, relayed from my mom to me? Yeah, and she looks me in the eyes a couple of times. We hold hands. She explains some things about her life. I explain some things about my life, how they've been. And then she stands up and says, okay, let's go. I said, well, let's go what? She said, we go out to dinner. And then she took us straight away to dinner. She has brought in a friend. I think she got help from a church community that has provided a support partner that helped her out with, setting this up, driving us there, paying the bills. Super sweet, of course. So I'm now spending time with my mom each and every day. So she just wanted to see me every day. There was no moment where she did not want us to be alone or whatever. So every day we said goodbye. We made a new appointment for the next day. She picked us up. We went to do some things. We had dinner, brought us home. Next day, same time until the end of our holiday. Now, let me see if I get this right. We also have an opportunity now to meet my uncle and his wife and his kids, so my cousins. Yeah, so nice, but also weird to suddenly, see that there is a family. So all these questions I had: do I have a family there? How big is it? Is it my mom's side? Is it my dad's side? Yeah, at least from my mom's side, it got answered. But all in all, it's been such a coincidence that she was in Japan and at the right time got back to receive the letter that requested I send it, to have it read and responding. Yeah, so if you put everything, if you look at all the moments where everything took place, there's been some coincidence actually. But it was an amazing experience, of course. So we went there again a year later. Because you said, look, you also have a grandma. My grandma took care of me most of the time. As during the period, my mom and dad were arguing and fighting a lot. So my grandmother took care of me the most. And I still also have memories of being in the house, what I told you. But I couldn't really verify. There was a couple of people there in a house. That house was my grandmother's house, and it was in the countryside. Small room, the exact same room where probably the memory, which I remember, took place. So we set out. I meet another auntie. I meet. I have 3 aunts and one of her husbands. So my aunt's husband, my uncle. We step in the car. We drive to the countryside to meet my grandma. My grandma is 80 something, but works the land every day still. Smokes, drinks, but still sharp. She shows me the land and everything where where she carried me, where I walked and played, all these things. There's another cousin suddenly who's also there, and we also meet. So yeah, so in a short time, I meet a family that is bigger than my family here. My mom never told my family there that she had me. A bit of a taboo kind of thing. My grandma, of course, knew. My uncle, who is, let me see, of her brother, is the oldest one of all these siblings. He knew, but he also didn't tell his wife. So my auntie also didn't know about me. So in a short time, they had to also start, telling the story. Look, there's another kids. There's another male person. That was your auntie's first son. This is the story. I noticed that it said some questions also on their side of the family, because suddenly they had to tell the story about I was there. How did I get there?
So you turned their life upside down.
Yeah, same as they did mine. So it's exactly on both sides. There was a lot of questions, but somehow they were so welcoming. Like really like a long lost person that has come back home. A little bit that kind of feeling. We went out to dinner every time. Niece and nephews, the cousins, they asked me a lot of questions. They talk well English, so that's really helping a lot. My aunties are super cool, and they were immediately enthusiastic, very eager to meet me.
What's your real name?
Yeah, good question. Very good question. So my full name, and that I knew already because I had a passport, a Korean passport when I was adopted, is Doo-young Yin. And Doo-young is my name, and Yin is my surname. So my Korean name is Doo-young. And that's the first thing, I forgot to mention that. It's the first thing my mom said to me when she saw me. So for the first time, I hear my Korean name, which nobody ever used, except it being on paper. First time I hear my real name being pronounced the way it should be by my mom. So that was also something like strange to hear your Korean name, which doesn't have any, because I'm used to my name as it is now and everybody how people call me here. But for her, of course, that's me. She knows me by no other name than that name. And it's always something, your mom says your name, and that's your name. Doesn't matter how she says it, that's your name. So that was strange to hear it. On the other side, it felt, like I said, like home. Like, hey, this is how it should be. This is my name here, and this is how my mom gave me that name, and this is how she knows me.
Did you ask your mom about your dad?
According to her, which is highly likely, my dad had another wife during their relationship. And she found out about that other person, as she explained, because when she could have me for a couple of hours, or every time when she could spend a little bit time with me, I would say, oh, now I go back to my other mama. And he said, what do you mean with other mama? And then I couldn't really answer that question. So, of course, when my dad picked me up, she asked about who is the other mama. And then, the whole thing got out about the fact that there is another woman in that relationship. So she told me this story. She also told me that, that she was not the one who put me up for adoption, but it was indeed my dad. But that my dad, when he broke off contact and he didn't answer any of my mom's requests. She said that was the part when, I kind of lost it, because by law, I can't do anything. I'm absolutely not allowed to just come over and just break the law, because then he would have had me arrested probably straight away. And he has the legal custody, so it would be a losing battle for her. But he never said anything anymore to her. So they broke off contact. Yeah, of course, for her, terrible, because I talk about the things that I experienced here, but immediately I said, oh my God, this has been a million times more traumatic maybe for her than it has been for me. Because she has lived in the notion that I was there, imagining a life probably her son had here in that country, and then there was no way she would ever have met me because I was in the other side of the world. But she was really honest and open about all the questions I had about my dad that she couldn't, of course, answer because they broke off contact. So it's highly likely he has other family. So I probably have brothers and sisters from his side. Yeah, could be a health issue, could be any of these kind of things. I have my mom now. I'm already more than happy to, the situation, and how fortunate I am to that someone at least responded.
Does she have other kids? Do you have siblings?
But it did raise some questions about the situation, how my mom must have had her life in all those years. It also humbled me a bit, because first you think, do they know how I have lived? Yeah. It's also how has your mom lived? Because she's quite, to be honest, living quite poorly. She never had any children, so I was her only son. So being alone, with absolutely no chance of ever meeting her child, it must be devastating. So but we did try to make now some sort of a catch up. So we went to movie theaters together and all those things you do maybe when you're little. She tried to squeeze that in the shortest amount of time, which was actually really nice to do. Doesn't really matter what event we went to, a movie theater, eating ice cream for the first time. It was all, amazing, of course.
How was it here back to tell everyone about you found your family, loving family?
We said after I met, because that was the second time we went there, but you asked me how was the first time you got back. When I got back, of course, it was crazy because you have so many impressions and things that need to fall in place. You don't even have time to realize it because you're so busy with being in the moment, being with your mom. But yeah, at home, things have to fall in place. Being heard the story, your mom left you, your dad put you into adoption. And the story is now totally reversed. No, the story is your dad was doing stuff with another woman. They got divorced, and your dad never told anything about your mom and just put you up for adoption. That's difficult to hear after 30 years of being told that same story, and then suddenly someone says, no, it's not true. It's the other way around. I think that stuck with me the most, and I think the most difficult thing is that I realized how difficult my mom must have had it there, and maybe still has, because it's still not ideal for her, of course, because she still can't see me whenever she wants to. That has to be terrible. Same goes for me. I can't see her whenever I want to. That makes it difficult. But I think the most difficult part is that the story is different. I had a long time where I hated. I think my mom. I hated her a little bit but if someone tells you your mom walked out on you, it's difficult to digest, to understand, okay, what does it mean that someone walks out on you? I think I also got a little bit of difficulty of attaching myself to things because, it always ends in disappointment, that kind of a thing. So that's I think the thing that I remember the most, that you need to rearrange the story in your head. The narrative has become completely different. You need to revisit things that you thought always about yourself as well, because some things come from these stories. And if someone could have just told me from day one that isn't true and this has been the story, I think I would have behaved different on some kind of things. I would have been a different person as well. Some things that I struggled with, maybe it wasn't necessary. And it makes sense now because that's the story that has been officially registered during the adoption. Because well, at least he took me there. He didn't left me on the street. He took, the effort to drive me up there. Probably on a motorcycle, the other memory I have, and me sitting at the front and him handing me over and just filling some form. Makes sense now that he was the one who, set me up for adoption. If I look back at my own life, I'm super happy I am where I am today, the people I've met. I mean, you don't hear me complain about nothing. But I think the real victim of it all, besides maybe, feelings got hurt, right? But I still have the feeling the real victim is still my mom in all of this. This whole thing that took place, that's every time what goes now through my head, is the real victim is my mom. I think she got hurt the most in all of this. And I always used to think, because as a child, you view it from your perspective. I look at it from how I see things, how I was mad at my mom because she walked away on me. Poor me, I don't have any pictures of my past and all these kind of things. Now I've gone through the whole process and I've gone to Korea, met my mom, see how she lives now. The only feeling I still have with all of this is, my mom really got a shitty card in all of this. She is not doing well financially. She can see me. Of course, she has support of the family. That's at least something that I'm really happy to see. She has a good relationship with my uncle, with her brother. She has very good relationships with her sisters, my aunties, also with my grandma. I mean, that's really nice to see. But in the end, you keep thinking, okay, taking a child away from its mother, it's still, it's something really serious.
She found you, and still she cannot be with you all the time.
Exactly. So that's the other thing that went through my head. Am I now being the selfish one? Because what now I have done, now I have reached out. I met her, I've seen her, we hugged, we cried, we smiled, we had fun. Yeah. Okay, but now she has to live with the idea, look, sometimes I see you, but not most of the time. Have I really made her life better? But okay, the cool thing is that, or the good thing is that whenever I speak with her, she makes pretty clear that, she's happy that I reached out and everything. So that gives me a good feeling about it. But there have been, definitely, this has crossed my mind many times. The end of the day is that my mom still didn't have time to catch up with me because she lost me growing up. She didn't see me as I go through puberty. I don't know if she would want to have seen it, but growing up in general, she has missed so many things. She will probably never going to have those moments. Of course, same goes for me, but I still have parents here who, did things with me, brought me to places, gave me privileges in life and all those kind of things, which I'm super thankful for. But my mom got nothing out of this. Absolute zero. She only got like a small percentage of hope that she could ever see me. That was the only thing she had to hang on to, cling on to. That was it. Yeah. A lot of people ask me like, hey, why you don't bring your mom over here? I can. I will be willing to pay her a ticket every day if that would make her happy. But the problem is she knows nothing here. She doesn't speak the language. So that's the situation where I need to take care of her. But I would like it because I think she deserves it. But she would hate it because she cannot be a mom. And every moment I am with her, I feel that she's trying to be a mom for all the times that she has not been able to be a mom for me. She's trying to catch up. I think for her, it's more comfortable if I go there because then she's in her surroundings and her area and she knows exactly what to do. I also think, or I noticed that she really wants to be a mom when I get there. So she starts to bigger about my haircut, about the clothes I wear, how I look. If I have some, if I ate something, there's something on dirt on my face. You're a mom, how that is. So I allow her to be a mom also. I let her criticize things that you would do, or when we go out to dinner, she cuts my meat to make sure that it is small portions, that I don't like choke on it as if I would choke being an adult on meat. But no, all these little things. If she puts food on a barbecue or some place we went to and she scrapes off the black stuff, as soon as my glass is empty, she wants to put, she wants to take care of me as much as she can. Yeah, which of course I allow, because if I take that away as well, that would be, terrible, of course. But I need her to be there for her to allow to do that. I told her many times, like, you don't have to. But on the other hand, you can't say no to your mom, right? It's your mom. So if she wants to be a mom, she has to be a mom. Yeah, I know I didn't have pictures of the past. I know some things I didn't have, But my mom, what she didn't have is like unimaginable. So I will never make that up, right? She can make it up, right? That's the other, reality that we both know. We cannot play catch up anymore. She loves being, of course, a mom in that time. And it also, how weird this may sound, it's also something I missed. It's not that my mom here in the Netherlands never did all these things. She's been amazing through my whole childhood.
What are these things that genetically you found common with you and your mom?
I think we have the same spirit about things. I think we're both, I noticed that immediately, that come across brave and, like fierce, but deeper down, we're, pretty emotional. Mina said something funny when we are at my uncle's place. This is something really silly, but my second toe of my feet is longer than my big toe. My uncle has it, my mom has it, everybody in the family has it. So that she noticed that one immediately. Yeah, if you see my uncle and you see my mom and you see me, there's definitely just genetically similarities. You see the eyes, there's something in the face, the expression. There are things that you see right away that are like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. Even my grandma, same thing. Even despite being 80 something, you see that, we're just from the same line of blood. However, my mom told me that there is a strong influence from my dad in me. But I had this discussion last with Mina. I was so sure that she sent me, I saw a picture of my dad, but she said, no, we did not. And now I have to say, maybe I didn't see a picture of my dad. Maybe I had some image that he was on the photos, but I told you she cut him out of every picture. So genetics don't lie.
What are you going to do with Mother's Day?
So not especially Mother's Day. There's nothing. I will send her a message, highly likely anyway, and just check in on her, how she's doing at the moment and how things are. So we will be in touch. But yeah, the difficult thing is we can't really do much else than just send messages. We can't really meet each other or go out to dinner or do something nice. Or buying gifts is difficult because she doesn't want to accept anything. Try to send her money, she also doesn't want to accept. We always try to just send each other messages. That's the easiest thing to do, and we still do. I also send it to my uncle, less frequent, but I still do it. We send some pictures back and forth about, sometimes she sent pictures about my grandmother. I send pictures of our life here. So we try to involve each other in each other's life through this distance that we have.
Mika mentioned earlier that he wants to share additional details about the translator who accompanied them on an unforeseen journey. Here is the story of the translator.
We arranged the translator. I told you, right? So what they told the translator, because I didn't had time to give much of context, so I only asked, oh, there's a translator? Yeah, there is a translator. Okay, we'll take it. How many days? Whatever you want. I said, as much as possible. Let's go. The translator thought that we would have a business meeting and she was invited to translate a business meeting. But of course, that was not really the case. So when she met us and my mom, she helped us to translate the things. But she it became pretty clear for her that this was not a business meeting. So my mom told me all these stories about how shitty it has been for her to not knowing where I was, that she had, makes sense. Yeah, go through a phase of her life where I don't think she had the best, the best period. And she started crying, of course, because it's, yeah. But the translator was now immediately in shock because, seeing me and Mina and then my mom in a hotel lobby, and my mom crying her ears off, and I'm crying my ears off, and Mina's crying her ears off. So she's like, is this is not a business meeting? No, this is not a business meeting. I said, what did they brief you? Yeah, about, just you needed a translator. I'm from the university. So I assumed that it was a business meeting. I said, sorry, it's not a business meeting, but are you okay with it? She said, yeah. She said, I charge by the hour. It felt a little bit, weird for her maybe to charge money for something like this. I said, it's fine. Don't worry. So my mom took us out to dinner, but also the translator. So every night there was also the translator now mixed in, our being together. But yeah, it was so cool of her, by the way, to do all these translation and things. It really helped to understand the situation better, because it would have been really difficult to, through translating apps and things to get the story straight. So that's how I found out about the story about my dad and what he has done and all these things that I know now.
Mika and Mina are so excited about their upcoming wedding in July, which will be held in Finland. Mina is Finnish. It's going to be a beautiful occasion. But unfortunately, Mika's family from South Korea won't be able to be there in person. But you know what? They are determined to make sure Mika's mother and relatives back in South Korea still feel like they're part of it all. They want them to know how much they're loved and cherished, even from afar. The people who know Mika and will be at the wedding, when they hear about this, they'll totally get it. They will understand just how important it is to have everyone's presence, even if some family members can't physically be there. Mika and Mina may be missing their birth mother and extended Korean family. But trust me, they'll still feel complete on this big day. Their family reaches all the way from the Netherlands to Finland and even stretches to South Korea. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, please share it with your friends and family and ask them to subscribe. Leaving a rating and review on platforms like Apple Podcast can also help boost the podcast's ranking. Your support through word of mouth is greatly appreciated. If you feel I'm encouraging you to tell your story, contact me on rula@thelifeaffairspodcast.com. You will see my email in the show notes. I'll see you next time.